Ever wondered what nitrogen hypoxia is? Let's break it down. Hypoxia is a medical term that refers to a state where there's not enough oxygen in the body. Now imagine that situation intensified by inhaling pure nitrogen gas, or nitrogen at lethal concentrations. This is what we call nitrogen hypoxia. It leads to asphyxiation, a condition where the body or a region of the body is deprived of adequate oxygen supply. A rather unsettling fact is that nitrogen hypoxia is a relatively new alternative to more common forms of capital punishment. Yes, you heard that right. Instead of lethal injections or electric chairs, a respirator mask is placed over a person's face, and pure nitrogen gas is pumped into their lungs instead of oxygen. This leads to unconsciousness and eventually death from lack of oxygen. But how does this process actually work? To understand that, we need to know a bit more about nitrogen itself. So, what exactly is nitrogen? Well, to begin with, nitrogen is a colorless, odorless gas. It's all around us, comprising about 78% of the air we breathe. But it's not just hanging around for fun. Nitrogen plays a crucial role in life on Earth. Picture this. A lightning bolt splits the sky, and in that moment, nitrogen in the atmosphere gets fixed into a form that plants can absorb and use. This is how nitrogen becomes a key player in plant growth, helping them to build proteins and DNA. It's not just lightning doing the heavy lifting, though. We humans have a hand in it too, adding nitrogen to soils in the form of fertilizers, making sure our crops are hardy and healthy. But the story of nitrogen doesn't end in the soil. It's also indispensable to the chemical industry. Nitrogen is used to create nitric acid, an essential ingredient in fertilizers and explosives. It's even used to make nylon and dyes, adding vibrant colors to our world. In addition to its role in creating useful compounds, nitrogen has another superpower. It provides an unreactive atmosphere. This means it doesn't readily react with other substances. This property is incredibly useful in preserving foods, as it prevents spoilage and keeps our snacks fresh. It's also vital in the electronics industry, safeguarding the production of sensitive components like transistors and diodes from unwanted reactions, and there's more. Nitrogen gas is used in a process called annealing, a heat treatment that makes stainless steel and other steel mill products easier to work with. But wait, there's a chill in the air. That's because nitrogen can be supercooled to a liquid state and used as a refrigerant. It's even used to rapidly freeze foods, helping them maintain moisture, color, flavor, and texture. In short, nitrogen is everywhere, from the air we breathe to the soil beneath our feet, from our food to our electronics. Now that we understand nitrogen's role and properties, let's see how it contributes to nitrogen hypoxia. Opening. How does nitrogen hypoxia act as a method of capital punishment? Let's delve into the execution method of nitrogen hypoxia. It's a relatively new alternative to more common forms of capital punishment, like lethal injection and electrocution. The process is straightforward, but the results are final. In this method, a respirator mask, similar to what you might see in a hospital or on a pilot, is placed over the inmate's face. This mask is designed to cover the nose and mouth completely, ensuring that the only air the person can breathe comes from the attached supply. Now here's where nitrogen comes into play. Instead of pumping oxygen, which our bodies need to survive, pure nitrogen gas is introduced into the respirator mask. This isn't a quick gasp and it's over. It's a steady stream of nitrogen replacing the oxygen one would normally breathe. The person inhales this pure nitrogen and it fills their lungs. But our bodies can't use nitrogen the way we use oxygen. It's like trying to run a car on water instead of petrol. The engine just won't work. In the case of the human body, the lack of oxygen causes a state of hypoxia. This hypoxia isn't instant. It's a gradual process where the body becomes more and more deprived of oxygen. The person begins to feel lightheaded, then dizzy. They may experience confusion or a sense of euphoria. Eventually, this leads to unconsciousness. The person simply falls asleep and they don't wake up. As the body continues to be deprived of oxygen, the vital organs start shutting down. The heart, unable to function without oxygen, stops beating. This ultimately leads to death, all while the person remains unconscious. It's a grim subject, but it's important to understand these processes to grasp the broader implications of capital punishment. As we continue to discuss nitrogen hypoxia, we'll look at the debates surrounding its use, the ethics involved, and its implications for the future of capital punishment. Closing, It's a grim subject, but it's important to understand these processes to grasp the broader implications of capital punishment. So, we've learned quite a bit about nitrogen hypoxia today. To bring it all together, let's revisit the key points we've discussed. Hypoxia refers to a condition where there's insufficient oxygen in the body. When we talk about nitrogen hypoxia, we're looking at a scenario where pure nitrogen gas or nitrogen gas at lethal concentrations is inhaled, causing asphyxiation. This is a relatively new alternative to traditional forms of capital punishment, like lethal injection and electrocution. Now, let's remember what makes nitrogen so significant in this process. It's a colorless, odorless gas that makes up a substantial portion of our atmosphere. Not only does it play a crucial role in plant growth, it's also an essential component in the chemical industry. From fertilizers to nitric acid, nylon dyes, and even explosives, nitrogen is truly versatile. It's used to create an unreactive atmosphere, preserving foods and aiding in the manufacture of electronic components. It's also key in annealing stainless steel, making the metal easier to work with. And let's not forget, liquid nitrogen serves as a powerful refrigerant and is used to rapidly freeze foods, helping to retain their moisture, color, flavor, and texture. In the context of capital punishment, nitrogen hypoxia works by placing a respirator mask over the inmate's face and pumping pure nitrogen into the lungs instead of oxygen. This leads to unconsciousness and eventually death from lack of oxygen. While the topic of nitrogen hypoxia is indeed complex and can be unsettling, understanding it provides us with a deeper insight into the mechanisms of capital punishment and the science that underpins it. It's important to remember that knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts and figures. It's about understanding the world around us, the processes that shape it, and the elements that make it what it is. While it's a complex and somewhat unsettling topic, understanding nitrogen hypoxia gives us a deeper insight into the mechanisms of capital punishment and the science behind it. Knowledge, after all, is power.